Do I dare press record? Your internet seems especially flaky today.
Bro, I've
Bro!
I've literally never been doing anything on my computer. I've literally never done anything on my computer and my internet disconnected. But literally every time we use Riverside, at least once my Wi-Fi disconnects, and it never happens otherwise. I can't explain it.
Are you on Ubiquity Unify gear?
No, I'm just on whatever they ship you when you sign up for.
That's your explanation.
But why? Yeah, it makes no sense to me because it's never an issue. Like it's never an issue except when I record with Riverside, and it makes no sense to me.
It's a you problem, Peter. You need some expensive gear. You deserve it. You have a well-paying job.
I don't think it's I think it's a Riverside issue.
All right.
It's a fiber issue, and I'm still waiting for them to freaking dick the last 10 meters or whatever it is.
That as well.
It's very annoying.
If it is 10 meters, you should just go out there and
it's very annoying because when you look up our address, almost all the fiber companies are like, yeah, we can service you.
Well,
just sign up here. But then there's only one of them that's honest, and they're like, yeah, it's because they've put in the system that they were going to put cables to your house, but it might be a year. But the other companies will happily sign you up, and then afterwards they'll tell you, yeah, it will be a year before we can actually deliver. So it's kind of frustrating.
They're full of
Anyways,
shit.
This is boring compared to all the stuff I have on my list.
Do you have stuff on your list?
Yeah,
Let's go to it. Yeah.
I recorded the podcast in Ludvig's studio.
Oh, that's
in
right.
Copenhagen.
The real podcast.
It was really fun. It was the guy himself who
Ludvig?
yeah, it's just him. I think
your tech. So it is just him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so it was a very cool experience. It's this penthouse apartment in Copenhagen that's just turned into one room is a big podcast studio, and then there's another room that's basically his office where he also controls the cameras and stuff like that from there and records.
Oh, like an AV van.
Yeah, kind of like that. And there's a little kitchen, and there's even a rooftop terrace. So when the weather gets a little better, you can spend 10 minutes with your guest before you record on the rooftop. Pretty cool. Yeah, so it was a cool little place, and it felt very professional. He has this I don't even know what it's called, the thing that when they start recording, so they can synchronize the audio and the
clap tree. I think it's called
clap tree. Whatever.
Clap tree.
The clapper, and just stuff like that. It made me feel really pro.
Yeah, look at me, all grown up.
Yeah. So yeah, I recorded a podcast with my friend Nikolai. It was really nice. I hadn't seen him for 3 or 4 years, so we went for coffee, and then we went to the studio, recorded for 2 hours or something like that. And yeah, it was a great experience. I really want to do it again at some point. So the only thing remaining now is releasing the episode. And but yeah, I got the files from him 2 hours later, and it's not edited, but it's just the camera is focused on the person talking, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think that's some sort of a auto switch, or is it?
I think it might be some sort of automatic, because otherwise I don't see how he could do it that fast. I'm not sure.
Or he might do it live. That's what they do on live television shows. Or
yeah, maybe he does it live. I don't know. There were a few things that was a little annoying. Both of us moved around a lot, which I don't think you're supposed to do.
Oh,
so the camera keeps focusing, which is when you notice it, you realize that the background is moving when it does every time it does that. And then there's also some stuff with the lighting and stuff like that I would probably think more about next time. But overall it was a really good experience. And my only goal was really just to try it and just see what it felt like. Like if I have like some interviews or something I want to do, like it is like, to me, it felt like a really great way to do it, just because like you really like go into character in a different way when you're in a studio like that. And it's also really nice not to be in front of your computer. Like I literally didn't have my computer. I printed out my notes.
You didn't make like cue cards.
No, I just printed out one page. Yeah, so that's really fun. I'm excited to release the podcast. It was kind of it was a bit all over the place, which was also what I expected for this particular podcast, because there's just so many different things I kind of wanted to talk to him about. But yeah, I thought it was good. I almost got a little nervous beforehand just because I didn't know what to expect with the studio. It just like made me nervous. And then I think I started overthinking like what my plans were also like afterwards with the episode and everything. And like, what is this podcast even? And I just completely started overthinking everything and got really nervous. And then I sort of like realized, actually, this is just an experiment. And what I should just do is try to make this a really good conversation and try to make it like basically a good asset for the guest, like something that they feel like they're proud of and that they can use in the future. And like, it's like a nice asset for them to like promote themselves. And because that is ultimately how it's going to work out well for me too. Yeah. So I did that.
Nice.
And it was really fun.
You can tick off the task of trying it out.
Exactly.
What's the next task then?
Yeah. I'm not sure what the next task is, but well, in terms of that specific podcast, is just to release it, right? I was thinking really hard about what to call the podcast, which is always the hardest part. And then there was like, I don't know, every name I could think of. Are you on the right mic? Because there's a lot of background noise and a lot of, you just started sounding different. Maybe it doesn't matter. Or maybe it's, I don't know what it was, but you're just like moving around a lot and there's a lot of background scratching or...
All right.
Not when you're sitting still, so maybe it's just because you were moving around or something.
How about now?
It's fine now.
All right.
Sorry, just distracted. Yeah, so I was thinking about names and the problem was they were all super cringe because everything is cringe.
Yeah.
And then
depends on the eyes that behold.
Right. My Danish eyes, everything is cringe.
Yeah, that's right. The Jantelov eyes.
Yeah. And it all, like, a name also felt like it kind of like forced me a little bit to pick what the podcast is about.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm not really like
about fishing.
Yeah, but so actually I think I'm literally just going to call it Peter's podcast.
Nice.
Which is kind of funny because I recorded it in Ludwig's podcast's studio.
Yeah, but like, luckily you have a name that almost no one else has.
Right.
But is it only like the third most popular name in the universe?
No. Peter is literally the most popular name in Denmark.
It is, yes.
It's not, I wouldn't say popular, but it's the most common name because no one knew.
Right, yeah.
There's no new Peters.
Everyone hates it, but it is common.
They don't hate it. It's just out of fashion a little bit.
Yeah, I guess so.
So obviously there's already 10 other podcasts called Peter's Podcast, but the .com was free. So I was like, hey, that's my name. So I bought the domain name peterspodcast.com, and I think I'm going to publish it there for now.
That's a crazy domain name.
At least
not to go through all the like common names and buy every common name podcast.
Right. It was it's a great domain name if you're called Peter. I don't know how good it would be for someone like you unless you change your name.
I mean, Mikkel's podcast might be available as well.
It could very well be, yeah. So I think that's basically what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to see what people think of it. Maybe I'll use it as a opportunity to sort of learn how to make clips as well, because that is sort of another like sort of black hole for me right now, or a black box, not a black hole, it might be a black hole too, but a black box for how people do those and what works in those types of videos, and
So like
where to post them,
portrait mode, on screen captions, Instagram,
something like that. Yeah,
TikTok
something I could put on Reels, and
yeah,
probably not TikTok, because I've literally never even tried TikTok and don't know anything about it. So I did that, and overall I have too many things on my plate right now, so it's a little there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Also have like another like open thread with the podcast Nicholas and I started, like the entrepreneurship podcast.
Yeah,
we completely went into hibernation mode when Nicholas started doing parental leave, like around Christmas time. And now it's like just really, it really annoys me that we haven't shipped them yet. And I think the main reason we haven't shipped them is because we don't really know what to do with the video and like branding and stuff like that. So we've decided that I'm just going to like edit the audio and ship that. And it's not going to be as big and flashy as we wanted it to be. But at least we're going to release the 3 episodes that we recorded. And I think they were actually really good episodes, especially 2 of them are really great, I think. And that's in Danish. So we're going to release those and then see if we end up doing more. I kind of feel like that podcast would work because it's a Danish podcast, and whenever we have guests, they're probably going to be Danish as well. So that podcast would be really great to record at a place like that studio. And neither Nicholas or I live in Copenhagen, but like we could go there like maybe once a month and record 2 episodes in a row, and then we can do, episodes every 2 weeks or whatever. So it could work, something like that.
It's a good excuse to go see some friends in the city.
Yeah, that too. So that's another thread that's open. But the biggest thing right now is the meetup talk I'm giving in less than 2 weeks now. The Cursor talk, because now that I've done the podcast that I did on Monday, that's like my main focus right now is to figure out that talk, because I'm still not 100% sure what I'm going to do for it. But I started working on basically like a demo app for the talk that I tweeted about yesterday. Did you see the video I posted on Twitter yesterday?
No.
Okay, I did. So I built, and I tweeted about it because I built it in less than an hour, and it's just cool that you could do that. But, and I think, so the reason the app is not like a task manager, but instead I'm doing the idea we had like a while back that Casper shared, the domain management tool idea.
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing that idea, and I think it's working exactly the way I hoped it would. Am I still here or not?
It is stuck currently, but I think it's coming back.
Maybe I think it's my iPhone, not my internet this time. It was my iPhone camera.
We're back.
But yeah, it's working out, I think. But so basically the reason I picked that idea is because I kind of assumed that maybe I could nerd snipe developers a little bit by picking that sort of idea for the demo app. And I think it's totally working because the people really like the tweet that I put out yesterday. And I think it's not just because I used Cursor to build essentially a CRUD app in less than an hour. But I think it's because the app is like kind of interesting to developers, because what it does is it does like a whois lookup for a domain name. And then it takes the result of that whois lookup and it sends it to the OpenAI API and parses it into structured data that I then store in the database. And then I show you a list of your domain names with like this kind of interesting info about it, like when it was first registered, when it is expiring, where the DNS is hosted, what the name servers are, and whether you have like whois protection on. And yeah, so it's like a really neat little app idea, and I think it's pretty perfect for the talk because basically there's like 3 features. So I had like overall like 3 Cursor Composer sessions, right? Well, like whenever I've done a new feature, I like to like restart the Composer and start from like a fresh clean slate. So yeah, the first one is just like list domains in a table, and then it like needs to create the domain model and stuff like that. And then the next one is like, okay, add a domain to the list. And then the final one is like, okay, once a domain is added, parse that and do the AI thing and stuff like that. But yeah, the thing that I'm still like struggling with a little bit is how much am I gonna do on stage, and how much and what are the different things I want to show during the live coding part of building the app. So like I've built the app now, and I've tried to like basically take notes of everything interesting that was sort of going on. But yeah, then the other problem is that I don't really know for sure that it's going to do the same things if I live code, because it's like non-deterministic, of course.
Yeah.
So
Cursor's down or
right.
a new release.
I definitely need like a backup. Like I definitely need like everything to be like screenshotted, and or something like that. So worst case, I can just go through those, right? But yeah, like I want to show. Well, the thing that I'm realizing is that earlier today, like I kind of had the idea that I would have to show a lot of different things, and I would have to like. I just always start out with this feeling that there's not enough meat in a talk. But then once you start to actually like get into it, it's like if you just show like 1 or 2 cool things, it's almost all you need. Do you know what I mean? Because people only remember 1 or 2 things anyways. So when I was building the demo app, I think sort of where I'm landing is like start adding a feature, see how that goes. And then for the next feature, maybe force it to do more of a TDD style workflow, just to kind of show how that works. And then the third feature, which is like doing all the AI stuff, it's like there's a lot of components to that, like because there's just a lot of stuff that needs to happen. Like it needs to run the whois lookup. That's like an internet request, right? And network request, and it needs to configure this library called Prism that I use to do the request to the OpenAI API, and it needs to so it needs to do that and sort of handle that, and it needs to update the domain table in the database once that's all done. And then when you test that, it's like kind of complicated to test because you need to mock a bunch of things because you don't want to actually call the APIs when you run your test suite and stuff like that. So that feature is like quite complicated, and it's like it's almost certain that it's going to do it in like a pretty like messy way. That's like I've done that feature like 2 or 3 times now with Cursor, and I kind of know exactly how it's going to approach it. And then I think like basically showing how I'm sort of like helping Cursor get that into a better structure, like extracting some services that you can mock in your tests, and cleaning up the tests as well, and just like implement like good development practices. And I think that's like almost enough to show as like the demo. But the thing about it is like it's not really anything Cursor specific. It's just like good development practices. But then again, like I kind of think the whole point of the talk is to show that like that's the only way you're going to be successful with Cursor 2 is if you have good development practices.
Yeah, and if you tell it to have that as well. So maybe there's like a three-piece rocket instead of English expression as well. No,
but it makes sense.
But
It's a Danish school.
So, but I'm thinking like maybe show it once where it like you give it minimal instructions. So like make this feature, and then obviously it's going to give you something that you get you, or like either what it gives you like discard it. So show that you can discard. I mean that's a first hand primary important feature that you can say no to the machine.
Reject it.
So like show how easy it is to get it to do something, but also show how likely it is that it's rubbish, and then show how you can destroy it again, like remove it again, and then show what it takes to get it to output something that you want actually, which is probably just another prompt with some more information, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the third part could be to show how you could add cursor rules or any other fancy ways to make it remember your preferences. I mean, that's the.
I think that's
the
kind of how
step rocket that's going to teach you to use cursor.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of going to use that 3-step rocket for the first 2 features. But for the third feature, like I don't really feel confident that there's any way to prompt cursor to do that the right way to begin with. Just in my experience working with it, like and trying to have it implement that feature.
Are you talking about the first or the second step?
The last feature where it does the
it's
who
supposed
is
to
lookup.
make the good solution.
Yeah, but it's I think it's like it's that feature is hard to get exactly how I would want it in a single prompt, and I think some of the value in showing that anyways is like you know, like that saying, like first make it work, then make it good, or something like that. Like I feel like if you're doing things right, like you make it work first, but with a test. And then when you make it good, you don't have to change the test, right? And like the last time I built the feature, the third time I built the feature with cursor now, just because I was experimenting with like different prompts and stuff like that. The test was really good. And then I just did like the kind of lazy prompt, and it did the feature in a working way, but the code was kind of messy, but the test was passing. And then from there on, it's like cursor is really good at refactoring stuff if you tell it to. And I think that's kind of cool to show too, that as long as you sort of keep making sure you have tests for everything, you can make it work and then make it good. So I think that is like a valid point to show that.
Yeah, I used to have this. I wrote my newsletter once about this. I think I called it a controlled explosion, which is like when you have an idea and you want to try it out, so you just like hammer at the keyboard until you get it working, and then afterwards you almost just scratch it all like immediately, because obviously that's not the way to do it in like a responsible manner, but you just wanted to see if you could do it right. And then I think that translates just 1-to-1 to cursor, like really make it go. And one of the benefits is that you can really make it go really fast, really far, but then also like leave breadcrumbs, or at least a git commit before you do anything rash.
Yeah, the thing, like the final thing, like I'm not sure about is like I actually haven't found cursor rules super helpful. Like I know I talked about them last time, but like I feel like half the times it doesn't even read them or remember them, and then I have to kind of tell it to do it anyways. And so I'm just not sure if they even met. Like for this demo app, I haven't used them because I haven't found the need to use them. Like it just hasn't been an issue not having them. It hasn't. It's almost like this is probably not true, but it's almost like they were cached from the previous project I did, even though they're project specific.
Yeah, it might have like a memory of you as a user.
Yeah, my preference or something like that.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's like really like non-deterministic, which is part of what makes this hard.
Yeah,
there's an error. It makes
Go ahead.
There's an error it makes consistently, which is if it'll when I start building the app, it almost always just add domain names to the database, but it doesn't scope it to a user unless you very specifically tells it to. And that's like, I think that's an easy one to show where the way I sort of did it when I did the demo app is like I asked it to build a feature, it built a feature, but it just completely ignored like saving it on the user or like scoping it on the user. And then I asked it to add a test just to make sure that you can't see other users' domain names. And that's also like good development practices to like, okay, there's a bug here. Let's create a test that sort of shows the bug. And then we fix the bug afterwards, right?
I wonder if there's a difference between programming language. Like if it's smarter when it programs in Haskell, because all of the source material is probably from some smarter people.
Yeah,
or at least some more try-hard people. And then when it's writing PHP, it's just like a big script kiddie that's just like hammering away and forgetting like good practices and security.
It's a reflection of how many apps where we should almost talk about Nordnet. Did you hear about that?
No. Was there?
You didn't hear about that? Okay, let's go on a little tangent. I think I'm done talking about my talk, anyways. Actually,
are my stonks safe at Nordnet?
That depends, because like there was like a huge thing on Tuesday where you didn't hear about this at all.
No.
Okay, so the way I heard about it is because I listened to this podcast, Store Ping. It's where they talk about finance stuff and it's some people from one of the Danish newspapers, right? But a journalist at this newspaper was checking his Nordnet trading account. Nordnet is like a trading platform in Scandinavia, like basically.
Or Robinhood or whatever.
Yeah, and he was checking his doing work time. For some reason, he ended up checking how his stonks were doing, and he logs into the app and he just sees like some Swedish woman, his name, including all her stocks and stuff.
Oh wow!
So he goes down to like the basically the finance department of this newspaper, where they also do this podcast I listen to, and he's like showing it to them. He's like, what is going on here? So they end up doing like a breaking news podcast about it. Wow. And so it's pretty crazy. Like when you logged in for like, there was like a window of like a couple of hours where if you logged in, you might see another person's account, basically.
Wow! So
and they could get all the way. They could get all the way to like buy new stocks, and then they didn't go further because they didn't want to do something illegal. Yeah. But they could like get to the like modal that says like, "Are you sure you want to buy this stock?"
Wow!
And then they said no. Yeah, so they've been really vague about what happened, from what I've seen at least. But I do have a theory, because it says like you only have the risk of being like other people seeing your account if you logged in this like there's like a half an hour window or something like that. If you logged in during that time.
Okay, so new sessions in that window of time.
Yeah, so my theory, and it's like just based on my own, like basically whatever imagination after reading the press release that I saw, is that like at least it makes sense to me. Like if you logged in during that time, they screwed up the cache in a way where they just like globally cached the account if you logged in at then that point, instead of like caching it based on a user. Maybe that's kind of the only reason I can think of. Like, why would you see someone else's account? And it only happens, your account only ends up being one of those accounts if you logged in during this window, where I'm guessing they've, during that window, maybe screwed up the cache in a way.
But if it's the cache, then how can you trade stocks and buy stocks?
They didn't say that you could do that, because they didn't go all the way to actually purchasing. Yeah. I don't know. But they also said it was something like related to the login component that someone deployed. So it could also be that they somehow like just like hard code, like, or maybe get like the ID that for the person they log in from the cache or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they set like the wrong user ID.
Maybe if it's like if they do like what's it called when you split your database in multiple locations?
Sharding or something.
No, it's like sharding. Yeah, that's it. And they were like pointing to the wrong one. So if you had a overlapping user ID and it's an integer, or I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean it sounds crazy, like especially for like a trading platform to just. It's just crazy.
That could have gone horribly wrong.
And it might have, like, who knows?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Wow.
Yeah, they included a form that you could fill out if you thought that someone did something to your account that they shouldn't do.
Yes, I had, what was it, 2,000 NVIDIA stocks before this.
Yeah.
And now they're gone. Yes, I am certain that I had those stocks.
Yeah. Yeah, anyways, that's my update. I'm going to keep working on my talk and try to find sort of a narrative. Like, I have the demo app now, so I just need to find sort of a narrative for it. But I'm getting there.
Nice. I have a talk as well to do. Nykredit. Now we're in the finance sector. We're a finance podcast now. Yeah, Nykredit has hired me to come explain LLMs to them.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah. I have
as a comedian or as a developer?
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like the in between, and that's that's why I still get hired sometimes to do talks that are sort of in the in between space of being entertaining, I guess, and still you can explain it to your boss that it isn't like just a party.
Yeah.
So I have to.
That's amazing.
First off, understand how LLMs work, and then.
Just watch an Andrew Karpathy stream.
Yeah, that's the plan. Then make a few jokes in there, and that's it. Just be ready for answering questions, I guess. Yeah, but that's gonna be fun. These things, hopefully. like they stay on your mind like the whole time. So that's part of like, at least I get paid, so it can feel like a job, but it's like you spend so much time thinking about it that it's almost like some people, when they hear what a stand-up comedian gets for like half an hour of entertainment, is like, yeah. But first off, they spend 10 years being that good. Then they spend like, perhaps not if they are busy, but like when I was doing it, I spent like, I was just fretting every single paid gig, because I wanted to not suck. And so it has a permanent space in your head until it's done. And then when I go do it, it almost can't ever live up to my expectations of myself. So I almost always leave like kind of bummed. Like, that was fine. Even though people like tell me that it's good, I'm still like, yeah, I expected more. But that's a personal problem, I guess. So I have that on my mind, but I've also I failed to publish my weekly YouTube video last week, but I am ready with this week's video, and it's an introduction to NitroKit. Nice. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, the LeaderKey, the app, is like still making the rounds. And people just, it's like, I could have told myself I made a product that's aimed at power users, and it's open source. So that's like getting all the issues and none of the money, which is great fun. But I've also had some people show up with nice pull requests, and even some return contributors, which is really nice. And some people have even like chipped in and given me money through GitHub sponsors, which is also nice, I guess.
People are making videos about it.
Yeah. Someone made a video about it, and it was featured in a French magazine. So like an actual real paper magazine that's distributed in France.
You need to buy that.
I got a PDF copy, but I should get a print copy as well. So that really struck a chord. And then of course there are all the people who's like, I already do this with Better Touch tool or like whatever tool they use, which is like, okay, dude,
it's great.
Yeah, it's great. You just go ahead in your already advanced mega user life, but we're doing something else, and we have a nice time. But NitroKit, I added like a simple installer. Rails has generators built in, but it also has like a application template thing built in. Like Rails has everything built in. And it was very easy to just make a script that can install the project into your app. And
what do you mean by application template built in?
So there's like an API to define. You should copy these files. You should add this gem. You should do this to this file and whatever. So after you do your Rails new, or even when you do your Rails new, you can pass it either a path to a file or a URL to a file. That's sort of a definition file for this template. So I just supply like a Ruby file that says copy this file, add this gem, and then it installs a NitroKit into Rails app. And I'm using it as well for the premium parts, which, as promised, I released on Friday as the randomization gods chose. I had to push it Friday. So it is up, and there's a premium solution early bird thing, and it even works with the generation, like the template thing. So if you want the application layout, which is the only premium thing that is up there, but for now, you can also just copy a string, like a terminal command that has a license key added to it, and it'll install it like in a second. And that's in the video. So that was sort of why I skipped it last week. I had to do some stuff, and then I tried doing the video, and then I found out that I was missing some stuff, and then I tried doing the video, and then I found out I was missing some more stuff, and it was like back and forth until it was really ready.
That's great though.
Yeah, and I didn't think that I teased at one point to have to use DHH's video of the Rails 8 introduction to sort of play up against. So I use David talking about how he's just adding, I think it's called simple CSS, which is one of those CSS files that just styles regular HTML elements, and then I don't know, cut him off and say that's not good enough, David, and then the video starts, I guess. Yeah, I'm excited to share it.
Nice.
And yeah, it's really fun. Like YouTube is hitting that spot where it feels like this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
This is your new job.
Yeah. I mean, it isn't, but it strikes all the chords. It strikes the entertainment part, and it strikes the development part, and it strikes the I don't know. Yeah, really hits
YouTube video driven development.
And I really like optimizing the videos, like for engagement, I guess. So like cutting all the silence, cutting all the breaks, making sure that the video shifts around. There's just like all these little things.
What do you use to edit the videos again?
ScreenFlow.
ScreenFlow.
Yeah, it's pretty old.
Kind of old school.
Yeah, but it's working great. And Aaron Francis, listener of the program, I think, is the one that he uses in his screencasting course, I guess, which is really good. And I use it because of its keyboard shortcuts. Like I could probably use Final Cut just as well, but it was easier to just record and do everything in one app. But I'm getting sort of to a point where it is a little bit in the way sometimes. Like when I add audio effects, like to just improve the audio, for example, it starts to be really sluggish to work in. And I imagine that Final Cut has some better optimizations, I guess, or something like it.
Yeah.
Like what I really miss, like I used to do a lot of music and recorded music and made my own tiny EPs of music when I was a youngster. When you edit music, when you record music in a sequencer, you have like the concept of tracks is sort of built in, so you can put an effect on the track and it'll like sound different. Whereas in video programs, it's like the item of reference is the block of video or audio. So I can't really apply effects to a track, which is what my instinct tells me that I want because of my past in like audio. But in video, it's like I have to fiddle with these little nuggets of video, and then when I cut it, it doesn't apply to the whole track, which is like that frustrates me a lot. That I have to always keep in mind that it isn't track scoped; it's like nugget scoped, and it confuses me that there's like one track can be audio and then video and then audio and then an effect and then text, and it's like, what? How does anyone keep track of this?
Yeah, you kind of need to like do all those things before you start cutting it, right? Because then you have all these little bits and pieces. Yeah, I've run into that.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, so having a process is great, like do a rough cut and then do a finer cut and then start applying all the effects. And I've sort of learned it by now, so there's not too much back and forth. But I just think that like it would be so much easier to have proper tracks, like an audio DAW.
You built that?
No. I don't need. I have LeaderKey. I have one full-time job.
Oh, this is a paid product.
Fending off nerds. Yeah, maybe. But it's like I'm at a spot now where Screen Studio was too simple and ScreenFlow was the sweet spot, and now it's getting to maybe that's too simple as well because I don't know.
Do you think you're gonna try something more advanced then?
Possibly. So I think maybe recording in one app and then using Final Cut to cut it. I don't know. I might try it. Like it in the end, it's like it doesn't make sense to spend too much time thinking about it. It's like I spent half an hour yesterday investigating microphones, which is like I have an expensive microphone. I don't need a new microphone, but like you so easily get caught up in these rabbit holes of like, oh, I wonder what the best microphone is, which is like the opposite of being productive. But yeah, we have fun.
Yeah, I've kind of been thinking about if I should try to do some screencasts or not, maybe more like live streaming maybe with some of the Cursor stuff, just because I'm having fun with it, and people's like Twitter seem to like when I tweet about it. So
it's funny. I think it feels like Cursor has definitely fanboys, and they already know all the tricks, and then it definitely has haters as well, and they just
but it
don't
also
want
I think
anything to do with it.
I think there's like a big thing right now where everyone is like kind of freaking out and they're thinking like, do I actually, maybe I do actually need to like look into this.
Yeah.
And they don't really have strong opinions about it. They just don't really want to have to bother with it, but then they are curious about it. That's kind of how I feel that a little bit with people right now.
I did a little bit of upfront work when I tried it out and made it sort of look like and behave like Vim does for me. And that was actually how I switched to Vim, 18 years ago or something. I started out making it work as much as I could, like TextMate, which I was coming from. And then little by little, like removing all the parts that you were dependent on, moving to the Vim way of doing it. And I've done the same with Cursor. So like the keyboard shortcuts that I use the most, I've made work in Cursor as well. Like my main issue, I think, still why I keep going back from Cursor is I run my tests in Vim in so I run Vim in my terminal. So I'm always in the terminal. I can like control set out of Vim and into the terminal, like put the progress in the background and go back and forth. And I've done it for years now, so it's like stuck in my fingers. And when I run my tests, they run in like a full screen terminal window, sort of. So I get the full output. And I don't have my, like, it's not in the gutter of my test files or whatever. I don't have any like tiny play icons in my test file or whatever. And I'm just so used to that. And I like the aspect of just having the output like up front and full screen. And, and I feel like when I run tests in Cursor, I have to go look for the output. It's always like not quite visible to me. So I have to go dig it out. And that puts like at least 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 seconds on top of whatever it takes to run my tests, which is just like, I don't have that kind of time when I'm used to having it like up front and center. Yeah. So I love if someone could tell me how I can make Cursor run tests in like a full screen. I mean, it's probably just a question of asking ChatGPT how I do this, but like run tests when I press my return key, like in a like one big window on top of everything, put everything else aside. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not that optimized yet. I've never really been very optimized. I'm always like too lazy to learn like shortcuts and stuff like that. It takes something has to be really painful before I figure out how to do it in a faster way.
Oh, yeah. No, I can get lost for weeks.
But we are different. We've established that. You build leader key.
That's right. But one shortcut that I added to Vim is like open this file in this project in Cursor instead, which is really handy. So, and I've disabled all kinds of like all the AIs in my Vim, which has brought like a nice feeling of serenity and like just being let alone with me and my code. And then eventually when I feel like, okay, I should probably use a machine to type all these characters, I can just open Cursor at the exact spot that I'm at in Vim.
Yeah, I think I would do it differently in a bigger project, but like everything I've been doing lately has just been like little apps that I built entirely with Cursor, and Cursor wrote all the code.
Yeah, I guess that's the difference. Anyway, that's my update. Not much else. Excited to launch NitroKit. I would hope that someone shows interest pretty soon, other than myself. Like either buying it or using it or just asking questions, I guess. Like I wish that some of the issues were on NitroKit instead of Leader Key.
See when you publish the video if that changes anything.
That's right.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
See you not next week.
That's right. I'm going to Norway with my eldest, teaching him to snowboard. Hopefully.
Nice.
All right.
Enjoy.
Well,
Have fun.
Bye.
Hey.